Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today we've got lots to discuss with you, as has been the case with the every passing day. It's a new week, but of course the stories continue to pile up with every passing day. So this is the lineup for today. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the Indian oppressions and its activities that have been happening in the illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, not since now but since decades. But these kind of activities have been ramping up specifically under the Narendra Modi era. Now our government, our Prime Minister, our President have time and again highlighted these, so have our other ministers as well, and the fact remains that a global outcry against this needs to come in a very strengthened and a united manner, so that India once and for all can stop its atrocities and let the people in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir decide their fate as per their own what they want to do with the Indian held valley, whether they want to go with the plebiscite, and if so, as is their right, what do they want to decide with as per this plebiscite. And this is the right that has been denied to them since decades, and this is this denial is taking different shapes and forms as from the Indian reaction in different forms of oppression and atrocities. We'll be highlighting that in our first segment. Then we'll be talking about India and its fascism that continues, and also that is being highlighted by different forms of media now, including Indian media. Also the anti-Pakistan narrative that has gained ground in India since the Modi era, but specifically after the Pahalgam false flag operation also is being debunked by different media outlets, and this is what we'll also discuss in our the second story. Our third story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the Indian Air Force that is on a downward spiral. As per latest reports, the Indian Air Force has not been stable, not since now but since the last decades, because as per different international reports, around 550 Indian aircrafts have crashed in the last 30 years or 3 decades. 152 pilots have been lost between 1989 and 2022. What is the reason for all that? When we look at how India maneuvered as far as its conflict with Pakistan is concerned, it shows a lot of things and maybe a lot of inaccuracies and inefficiencies that exist within the Indian Air Force. We'll be trying to highlight those as per the report, not our points of views. Then we'll be talking about Gaza, the latest situation as far as the Middle East is concerned. The number of killings have exceeded 58,000. These killings, these butcherings, these barbarities, this genocide, these war crimes, these crimes against humanity continue unabated with every passing day, with every passing hour. These they continue to increase. Also the lack of basic facilities also is not being catered to as has been prioritized by the international community. The peace talks for ceasefire, or the ceasefire talks between Israel and the Palestinian side also are not seeing the headway that many were expecting to. Netanyahu has returned from his US visit with no promise of any 60-day ceasefire. What's going to happen is what we'll discuss in our fourth story. Then we'll be talking about the EU-US tariff war, should I say, or trade war, should I say. On the one hand, Trump threatens 30% tariffs on the EU. The EU said it's going to have retaliatory tariffs, but it is kind of holding on to their reaction for some time. What are the basic reasons behind that is what we'll discuss in our fifth story. And lastly, we'll be talking about Pakistan's economy and international economy. We'll jumble it up. The KSE 100 index has surged past 136,140, and this is of course a huge mark as far as the KSE or the PSX is concerned. Our Prime Minister also felicitated Pakistan on this monumental increase or surge as far as the PSX is concerned. To top it all, also the IMF has taken out a report that has been quoted of all media, also the Indian media, in which they felicitate Pakistan on the economic recovery and the way Pakistan's economy is moving. And finally, with this segment, we'll also be talking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin, of course, cryptocurrency that Pakistan is also moving towards. Cryptocurrency, Bitcoin has surged past the $120,000 mark. One Bitcoin is now worth $120,000. $120,000 US. Let that sink in. This is the lineup for today, and let's begin with our first story, and that concerns Indian illegally occupied Jammu and global outcry over the oppressive actions of Narendra Modi in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. We've been joined by Farhan Bukhari Sahab. He's a senior analyst and he's right here with us in the studios, and we'll also be joined by Dr. Shazia Anwar Cheema. She's a foreign affairs analyst and she'll be joining us online. Oh, she's here. Dr. Shazia, thank you very much to have joined us as well. She is with us online. We'll begin with you, Farhan Sahab. Farhan Sahab, let's start with Pakistan. What specific steps do you feel Pakistan is taking or successfully taking to ensure sustained international attention on the Kashmir issue, especially in light of the recent statements that have come from our President and our Prime Minister? Do you feel Pakistan is on the right track?
Well, Pakistan has engaged in very intense diplomacy since the Indo-Pak clashes in May this year. And Pakistan, I think, is really grabbed onto to the best possible avenue that it could have under the circumstances, which is to highlight how dangerous this conflict could become. Heaven forbid if it goes out of control. And then Pakistan has also said more than once that any Indian action to stop the flow of water to Pakistan will be an absolute red line, one that Pakistan will be compelled to take action against without specifying what that action would be. So I think Pakistan has done, under circumstances, the best that it could have done.
All right. Dr. Shazia, coming to you, I'd like to understand, when it comes from a humanitarian point of view, what is happening in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. It draws a lot of parallels from what is happening in Palestine as well. From a humanitarian point of view, do you feel enough is being done by the international humanitarian organizations, or do you feel more needs to be done? And if so, whose responsibility is it?
I think, Khalid, the simple answer is that no humanitarian organization and international community has not done enough in Palestine and has not done enough in Kashmir. In recent incidents in Palestine, we have seen that the food and water is being used as bait to concentrate Palestinian people, and then an open, with full impunity, a massacre is being conducted 24/7. So the same modus operandi is being practiced in Kashmir for last 70 years. And why there are parallels between Palestine and Kashmir? The answer is there because the mindset behind both the occupations, illegal occupation, is the same. And recently, after Ajit Doval, the NSA, National Security Advisor of India, he is a proven Mossad agent, Mossad assets, and he is using all the tactics and techniques provided by Israel, trialed and tested in Palestine, to use in Kashmir. So now the parallels are even visible, and we can see them. And my fear is that we are going to witness another genocide apart from Palestine in Kashmir. And that is a wake-up call, and we must raise our voices about Kashmir right now. And this is the right time, because the Pahalgam attack, this false flag operation, has backfired India on multiple levels, and favored Pakistan on multiple levels, because we were innocent, we were victim of this blame game. And B, the world has no appetite. There is no market value for these type of belligerent, these type of bellicose rhetorics. So that's why this is the right time to even even amplify the Kashmir issue. Recently in the BRICS summit, India was reluctant to sign the communique, including Palestine and Israel as a separate state, and forced to by the other BRICS members and by Brazil, forced to sign that. We can use that precedent if India can become party in saying that Palestinian has a right to have a separate state on the similar grounds, because their land is being illegally occupied. then same rule can be applied on Kashmir. So we can use that communique to even raise that issue right now, because I fear that there could be a time when it will be little too late, as we have seen in Palestine, and we are helpless. We are just watching a genocide 24/7 on full HD, with full colors, with full volumes, with full best equipments. But we are helpless. We are unable to
Definitely,
do
Dr.
anything.
Shazia Anwar Cheema is red, and the color is that of the blood of the innocent Palestinians and also the innocent Kashmiris in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Coming to you, Farhan Bukhari, the Prime Minister of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, Chaudhry Anwarul Haq, issues a warning about potential military escalation in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. How serious is the concern that India's continued actions in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir could provoke a stronger regional confrontation?
This is clearly a ticking time bomb. It's not a safe situation what's happening in Indian occupied Kashmir, because the longer this continues, the greater the risk of an escalation, wider escalation. What happened Pahalgam, in spite of all the questions around Indian claims, what happened between India and Pakistan in May, the nature of that conflict, and eventually the Indians had to seek a ceasefire. This is not a good precedent to live with. I think it's important that India and Pakistan has been ready for a long time, but India has to be brought around to the table to agree to resumption of negotiations, discussions. It cannot close its eyes and keep on repeating the same old mantra which we've heard zillion times, that this is an internal Indian issue or internal.
It has never been, but this is what India is perpetrating it as. But in fact, it is an issue that remains unresolved under the United Nations auspices,
with very dangerous consequences. To the extent that this is something that the world should pay much more attention to and try to put it on the road to resolution of some kind.
I agree with you on that. Shazia Anwar Cheema Sahiba, what kind of diplomatic efforts are now required by Pakistan under the current circumstances? We all remember time back Donald Trump had said that he was ready to mediate between India and Pakistan on the Kashmir issue and that they both will sit down, but that never happened, or I don't know whether that will happen or not, because India is extremely reluctant to do that at any juncture of time. But what should be Pakistan's resolve now on the diplomatic front?
Pakistan should take advantage of this Trump's transactional attitude, and we must have this in mind, that Trump's attitude is very transactional. You cannot plan a long-term any strategy upon the Truth Social or the X posts of Trump. So having that in mind, this could be a window of opportunity which has been provided by the West to Pakistan, that we can amplify. We can use this to put the Kashmir issue on the larger platforms. And we are doing this. We have been doing this, and we are sending like multiple dossiers. We are presenting this case multiple times. But this is the right time, as you have said in the beginning. This is the right time to draw some parallels and tell the world that if you have had enough with the Palestine and the genocide of Palestine, there is something similar brewing in another part of the world. So this is the right time to stop it. This is the right time to resolve it. And this is not a territorial dispute between India and Pakistan. Pakistan has never said that Indian occupied Kashmir and we want to have it, we want to own it. Our stance is always clear that Indian occupied Kashmir's fate has to be decided by the people of that land. And we have no interest in occupying or acquiring that land. So the Indian stance that this is a land dispute. No, this is not a land dispute. This is a humanitarian issue. This is the problem of the people and their lives, their future. This is not a simple border dispute. So we have to put that and draw a parallel between the Palestine and the Kashmir. And also we can involve China in that, because China itself is a party in Kashmir, because there is a part which is under the Chinese territory. So we can involve China in that. So this is not a bilateral situation between India and Pakistan, and we must not let India promote that narrative that this is a bilateral issue and we will solve it. No, we cannot. If we would have solved it, it would have been done already. So we need a third party mediation. We need some other organizations. We need the press and free media inside Indian occupied Kashmir. We need United Nations inside Indian occupied Kashmir. So people can have the idea, the first hand, their emic expression that what's being done there. So this is not bilateral, and we must put that in front of the people that this is a time and we are ready, as always, as a Pakistanis and as a Pakistan. So we are ready to do that. So let's do it, let's solve it, and let's find some mediators. So who is there to volunteer as a mediator? Who is there to help us to resolve this issue? Because this is an issue. This is not a territorial dispute, which India is claiming.
Because this issue, of course, remains unresolved, because it is in the United Nations. There are so many, times that the United Nations has gotten together to discuss this issue without any tangible result or any tangible outcome that has come out of it. But the fact remains that these are issues that need to be resolved at the earliest, because the repercussions, if this does not get resolved over the years, as we are seeing in the Middle East, is going to be disastrous for the entire region. Farhan Saab, last question as far as this segment is concerned. India says it's an internal matter. You've highlighted that as well. Pakistan says it is not an internal matter. First, it used to say this was a trilateral issue that included the United Nations, Pakistan and India. Then it became a bilateral issue between Pakistan and India. And now, since 2019, it says that since the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, they say that this is an internal issue. Geopolitics, geostrategy aside, do you feel that the important countries in the West will be on Pakistan's side when it comes to the resolution of this issue?
I have no idea how long it will take to be resolved. The nature of power politics is such that morality and principles and the good values do not necessarily prevail. Having said that, I think the India-Pakistan clash in May this year and the outcome of that has had some consequences.
Some consequences. Will return on that with more details on India's attitude, but after this short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns India as well, and India's fascist attitude that is slowly and steadily being unearthed by not only Indian media channels but also Indian journalists. Recently, a senior journalist, Prem Shankar Jha, has authored a detailed book that gives different points of views as far as how Narendra Modi has taken India and transformed it into a fascist state. My first question regarding this, Farhan Bukhari Saab, when you look at how Narendra Modi has systematically dismantled democratic institutions in India and replaced them with authoritarian control mechanisms, I would like to understand how the Indian public continues to remain or has remained, at least in the first couple of years, silent on this.
Well, it hasn't remained silent as such, because if you look at the voices of dissent, they have been coming across and continue to come across. It's just that he has the mandate that there was a certain wave which swept across India. But I think as time goes by, lots of people in India are also having a rethink about Narendra Modi. Whether this is going to translate into a landslide against him or an electoral upset against him is something that we have to wait and see.
All right.
I think part of the problem is that he's clearly been a beneficiary of an opposition which has been weak, and that's another set of issues. but the opposition has been weak, so
True.
he's been a beneficiary of that. But
All right.
altogether, this is, I think, a situation which is not necessarily going to prevail for always.
It seems as if the winds of change are already blowing slowly and steadily, but blowing in the right direction, but in the wrong direction for Narendra Modi. Dr. Shazia Anwar, Cheema, I'd like to understand, when you look at the Indian judiciary, when you look at the Indian media, the forced sale of media outlets such as NDTV to Adani, and the list goes on and on. Doesn't this show a certain authoritarian attitude of the Narendra Modi government? And if so, do you feel, as I was talking to Bukhari Saab, the winds of change are blowing against the BJP as we speak, or do you feel this is a trend that is going to continue in the coming years as well?
See, I have always an argument whenever we discuss Hitler or Netanyahu or Modi, that these are not just individuals with their singular ideology playing it in singularity. They always have a fan following. They always have a cult sharing the similar ideology. So we cannot treat them as lone wolves or lone survivors or some populist singular individuals. They have a huge fan base. They have huge followers, and they share the same mentality. If after decades we say that all the Holocaust was fault of Hitler, I never buy that. It has an apparatus, it had all the machinery, and it had like-minded people who practically committed what he was saying and what his ideology was. So whatever is happening in India, it is by the consent of those people who share the Modi's ideology. And what's Modi's ideology? Then the question is, what is his ideology? His ideology is destruction of India, or that's what we can see right now. So I think that he's basically Sanatan himself. So he brings Sanatan ideology colliding with RSS ideology, and that resonate with multiple on the multiple layers, on the multiple levels, with the vast majority of the population of India. Because it's a very racist and caste-based society. And by racist, I mean that it is caste-based society. So being a racist is a core component of being casteist. So being Sanatan, it's a problem not for the Christians and the Muslims living, or the Sikhs living in India. It's the problem for the other religions which are under the umbrella of Hindu religion. Hindu itself is not a religion, it's a bundle of multiple different religions, and we even don't know that. So it's same as Zionism. So Zionism is not Judaism. Judaism is a different thing and Zionism is a different thing. You can take the component from Judaism and you can formulate Zionism. So Sanatanism is a different thing, and with a very harsh and hyper purificatory mentality, it's operating, and they have a very clear agenda of Akhand Bharat, and that Akhand Bharat includes all the SAARC countries and half of Pakistan, and they want to achieve that Akhand Bharat, and they are operating on the same levels the way the plan of Greater Israel is being played out. So we must take
more and more apparent,
because,
Dr. Saiba. Dr. Sabat, this is being made more and more apparent with all the different, methodologies that the Indian government is using, including what it is doing in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. It has launched the Operation Shiva recently. It says that this is to prevent the Amarnath Yatra, but this has also resulted in the additional deployment of about 8,500 soldiers, and has resulted in different clashes, whether it be in Udhampur and Kishtwar, and they say this is part of military insurgency. But what I feel is this is something to cover up what has happened post the false flag operation in Pahalgam. I'll come to you with that, but I'd like to understand a question regarding this very thing as far as India is concerned and India's designs vis-a-vis Pakistan is concerned. How does the Modi government, and we have seen that many a times, Farhan Sahib, use religion and religious events like the Amarnath Yatra as a cover for militarizing Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Operation Shiva is part of that, of course.
That's been the pattern for a number of years now. What happened in 2019 was a clear pointer in that direction. And before that and after that till now, we've seen a consistent pattern. So there's no doubt in my mind about the way that Modi's interpretation of the Hindu religion, and it's his interpretation which has been used to push a certain agenda, to put in place a certain kind of direction for policies, to create a kind of a vicious environment which keeps on reinforcing the hatred that's been generated in India against Pakistan for decades. So this is not something new. The question now is whether this is beginning to backfire, as many people argue, or is it something that Modi can, heaven forbid, pursue and go ahead with.
But you know, Farhan Bukhari Sahab, the fact is that the anti-Pakistan narrative that India has been using, whether it used that in Pulwama in 2019, whether it used in the post the Pahalgam false flag operation, this is a narrative that India has been playing on to gain further votes within its country. That is a mechanism that Narendra Modi has always used before any election. It happened in 2019. It now there are elections happening in Bihar, and that is what he is using this for, to gain more and more or gain more and more voting power as far as this all is concerned. Farhan Bukhari Sahab, I would like to understand this narrative of Pakistani infiltration that India uses time and again. Do you feel it is being used also to undermine the legitimacy of Kashmiri resistance and frame it as terrorism?
Look, if you look at the numbers, the number of Indian military and paramilitary troops present in Kashmir, and that's a very, very large number, a huge force in this geographically limited kind of region, which leads you to conclude, as I've concluded, that either the Indian security apparatus is completely incompetent, or the Indians are hugely exaggerating this point, because it's such a militarized region that there's no question of large-scale so-called infiltration taking place from Pakistani administered Kashmir or Azad Kashmir. So these are matters, these are lines which are used as pretexts to push across a certain view, a certain agenda, and to justify, like for example, we've seen in the case of Pahalgam, to justify periodically raising the hype, and in this case following up with military action against Pakistan, which badly backfired in the end. So the pattern kind of clicks together. This is not a surprise.
All right, this is not a surprise, but what is also not a surprise is the way the Indian Air Force is kindly going down a spiral. And Dr. Shazia and Cheema, I'd like to understand, over 534 aircrafts, at least 152 pilots have lost their lives since 1989. What are the primary operational or institutional weaknesses that have caused this downward spiral as far as the Indian Air Force is concerned?
I think there are two reasons. One is the corruption inside the government, which they themselves has mentioned, and the second is their priorities. The NSA, the Ajit Doval, has categorically said that he's pursuing asymmetrical war. He is not interested in kinetic war. So if you are not interested in a kinetic hot war, then your focus will be buying on drones or other materials which are needed for blasting and suicide bombing and infiltration. So you are not interested in equipping or training of the Air Force as per your strategy. And the second thing was their representative during the Pahalgam incident, in one of the press conference, he said that we have ordered, I don't remember right now the exact number, that we have ordered so and so numbers of aircrafts and we still don't have it. And then he also mentioned that we have a company, a manufacturing company related to the Air Force, some kind of things. And that company is also owned by Adani, and there is a huge corruption. We have not received any installment of that production, so we are running short of, we are out of the equipment, and that's also can be fairly said towards their training. So they do not have trained personnel, and they are short of kinetic warfare Air Force equipments, and that's the reason they are using the old equipment with the with malfunctions, and I don't know, and they don't have the proper training. And if they try to compete with Pakistan's pilot and Air Force, so we are far ahead of that. So there is no comparison basically between Pakistan and India. So
and despite India acquiring the Rafale aircrafts and the Su and the MiG-21, the fact remains that Pakistan claimed its superiority, at least in the skies, against India, and that was visibly apparent in the last conflict between both the countries. Stay on with us, Farhan Bukhari sahab. We are going to change the segment and go to another parallel with Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and that is the bigger parallel, that is what is happening in Gaza, the Middle East. At least 58,000 people have lost their lives. A majority of those are women and children. Most of them are innocent civilians that have been brutally massacred in the name of this conflict or war by the Israeli government. When and how can this stop?
For now, unfortunately, the tragic reality is that there doesn't seem to be an end to this utter and absolute madness. This one of the worst kinds of massacres that we've seen in history, not just modern or ancient, but in history. There doesn't seem to be an end to it, and the principal issue here is the US continued backing for Netanyahu. In spite of what may be said otherwise about Trump and his people trying to enforce some kind of a ceasefire, but the reality is that all the signals are pointing to the other direction, which is implicit, if not explicit, encouragement of this utter madness to continue.
This is utter madness, to say the least. Farhan Bukhari sahab, but also like to understand. There is the issue with the GHF, the humanitarian facility that was put forward, and Israelis were deliberately targeting those Palestinians who were going there for any form of aid, and this has been made more and more apparent in the last few weeks as well. To add to that, on the 13th of July, there is a missile strike in Nuseirat camp that kills children at a water distribution site, and Israel calls it a technical malfunction. How many more children and women are going to die because of technical malfunctions such as these? And do you feel the humanitarian organizations across the world, Amnesty and all those, shouldn't they kind of join hands and do something about it before, you know, they completely annihilate Palestine from the face of the earth?
This goes on to show that the space for morality, whatever little space there was before this terrible situation, has shrunk very rapidly and continues to shrink rapidly. Look, the problem is that humanitarian individuals and organizations all over the world have increasingly taken public positions against this madness. Ordinary people in Europe and even in the United States have come out to protest against this. In the US, for the first time as long as I can remember, universities, and these are very high profile, well respected places of learning, have been penalized because they have turned a blind eye, so to speak, to students protesting for the Palestinians, in favor of the Palestinians. I have no idea where this is going to end, and I doubt if anyone has an idea in terms of how much longer this can continue, because logically this should not have come even this far.
Exactly, but it has gone this far, and the number of days continues to increase, and the number of casualties with every passing day. Last question regarding this, Dr. Shazia and Cheema, the ceasefire that talks that now have been stalled between both the sides. Is there any future now for those? Do you feel something can eventually happen?
It an earnest approach to have a ceasefire if they are asking for a ceasefire just to buy time. So that ceasefire is not going to hold anything. The massacre will be continued, as the Hebrew media is already printing that they are building some camps and they are calling it humanitarian camps, and they will concentrate the people of Gaza. For those, they are using the term Gazans. They don't want to use the term Palestinians anymore. So Gaza, the people of Gaza are now Gazans. So they are going to put those Palestinians inside that humanitarian camp which they are building, and after that they have a plan, and they have articulated that plan openly in the Hebrew media that they are going to bomb the Gaza to dust after relocating the people of Gaza into the concentration camps, which they are calling humanitarian camps. And they will be assigned some numbers. They will have these biometrics inside, and anything and everything which will be outside of those barbed wires of that camp will be considered a threat. So that is the plan, and that is it is also being implemented because the humanitarian camps are being made. This problem and this genocide, let's not call it a problem, this active genocide can only be stopped if the regional powers and the regional countries will stop this non-committal, this criminal non-committal and their silence. So the regional powers, the countries in the region, in that vicinity, has to come up with a solution, and they should participate in some sort of dialogue or negotiation. Otherwise, it can never be solved, because we are looking toward the West to solve it. West has not created this problem at the first place to solve this problem or to resolve it. They have created this to diminish, to finish all the indigenous population, which is 80% of the people of Gaza are the ethnic
Shazia, let's continue to remain cautiously optimistic. I would say let's continue to remain cautiously optimistic and hope for the best. Expect the worst, but hope for the best. Let's see, maybe some good will come. Maybe there's some light at the end of the tunnel. My next story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns, my next stories concern economy. The first, of course, is the EU tariffs that Trump has threatened to impose, and the tariffs that he has threatened are that of 30%. The EU says it's going to retaliate, but it has not yet given a proper statement regarding that. It said it's holding on to that. We've been joined by Naeem Siddiqui Saab. He's a political economist, to talk more on that. Why has the EU, Naeem Saab, decided to maintain its suspension of countermeasures against US tariffs until early August?
But I just came back from America a couple of days before, so there is a lot going on these tariff issues, and America is not only implementing this to the Europe, but rather to the Mexico and the Canada and other part of the world, and particularly against those countries which are very small, like Vietnam, like Cambodia, like Bangladesh and India. So across the board they are implementing these tariffs. Now, what is the basic root cause between the EU and the US trade tension is that it is dispute over tariff, it is dispute over subsidies like Airbus and Boeing, digital taxes and green subsidies, and the under the US Inflation Reduction Act. So America now feels that as the China is coming up very fast in the economic world, so they want to readdress their economic conditions, as they feel that they are importing too much and giving too much leverage to the other countries, particularly to the auto industries and to all other like Japan, like Korea. So they're giving a lot of leverage to them, and as America has to import a lot from these countries instead of export to them. So now they are thinking that they should have their own industries in their own country, and they should export from here. At the same time, they are reducing their labor force as well, in a way that there are about 25 million immigrants living in America at the moment, and I think up to now 500,000 have been deported. Somehow, so there is a dual-edged war going on.
There's definitely a dual-edged war, but I'd like to understand, I'll come to Farhan Saab now, what could be the economic consequences for Germany and other export-driven EU member states if the 30% tariffs do come into effect?
Well, first of all, we have to see the EU's reaction, and if in addition to that there are individual reactions by different countries, we have to see that to see how far this is going to go or the next steps in this emerging situation. But I think at the very least one can safely argue that it might lead to one of the worst recessions that the world has seen in quite some time.
All right.
Tariff wars, trade wars of this kind.
But does it benefit the peoples of these nations? It doesn't, does it?
It doesn't, and the US, President Trump may be taking this partly to satisfy his political ego. That's part of the story here as well.
Yes.
China bashing is very popular in some parts of the world, unfortunately. So it might be driven by those types of drivers. The question is, where is this going to end?
Where is this going to end? But you know, I'd like to understand, Naeem sir, from you as well, what are the responses that you could have on this 30% tariffs that are or could be or will be imposed by the US?
Nothing but to impose a tariff on the American products as well. Simple. And there is no other option because they have lot mutual reciprocal businesses. For example, they had a competition between Boeing and Airbus, you see, and there are a lot of America wants its auto industry to grow again, to re-establish again. I don't think that it will be so easy. Because Europe has gone a long way into the technology about and there are many other areas where US can work on it. For example, the technology side is very high. The tech companies are all top 10 tech companies.
But you know, for the moment, EU's chief Ursula von der Leyen has also kind of said that she's going to wait a little bit. Maybe they are waiting for some kind of deal or backhand diplomatic negotiation between both sides that could lead to some kind of tangible result between the two nations so that these tariffs could be reduced to some extent. But let's come to the local front, and we've got a very short time, so I'd like to have as much information as possible. The KSE 100 index has gained more than 1800 points and has surged to 136,140. When it had surged past 135,000, our Prime Minister had taken out a statement to congratulate Pakistan in the way its economy is moving. The IMF also in a recent report, and that report, I don't know how the Indians also managed to publish it, but they did publish it. I don't know how they had the courage to do that, but they did, and it talks about how Pakistan is moving also in the right direction. How do you foresee Pakistan's economy in the coming months if this trajectory continues in the same vein?
Well, I think for the foreseeable future, the market is going to probably gain further ground. This is the forecast which is coming from all the big pundits. As far as stability of the kind that we've seen so far, which is stability of the rupee, the exchange rate, that will likely continue. We'll keep on keeping up with our debt repayments. Those types of things are going to carry on, and that's good for stability. But the biggest challenge for Pakistan now is to revive growth, economic growth. And it seems that the government has recognized that, and they seem to be at least trying to move the country in that direction so that there's a revival.
All right. Revival, nevertheless, is something that Pakistan is seeing as in the way things are moving in the right direction. Last question regarding this show, and this is to you, Naeem Saab. Bitcoin has surged past 120,000 US dollars. This is an amount that we had never thought could happen in one day. I mean, in the beginning it was like 10, 15, $20, and those who bought at that time was something. I mean, how do you see the strengthening of the cryptocurrency against the dollar, and how is this going to move or shape the economy in the coming days? I'd like a short answer.
Sir, it is just a shift in global investment behavior from traditional finance to decentralized digital assets, you know. And now I can foresee that it can touch to 150,000, and maybe in a couple of years it will go up to 200,000, because the trend is changing very fast. And I remember the day when there was $1 was equal to 11 bitcoins. So today you are seeing. So there's as the world economy is moving, and the
dependence on cryptocurrency maybe becomes more rapid.
Depending more because the conventional currencies are not more dependable at the moment, because everybody is thinking due to the tariff issues and what is going to happen in
so
future.
the reliance is more on unconventional currencies, and that is cryptocurrencies. Thank you very much to both of my guests, to the three of my guests. I'll first of all like to thank Dr. Shazia and Cheema Saab to have joined us online, and also Naeem Siddiqui Saab and Farhan Bukhari Saab to have joined us in the studios. Ladies and gentlemen, from conventional to unconventional, this is where the currency at least is going across the world. Let's hope that more conventionalism comes to resolution of issues across the world. Umar Khalwa bids you farewell from today's program. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news stories that pertain to us, you in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.